Hello and welcome, fellow digital soldiers, to True Reporting. It is the 28th of May, and on today's podcast, we will be covering a great article from thenaturalnews.com entitled Deep State Desperation, and FF is their last remaining option to save themselves from being exposed and destroyed. My friends, we all know that the world is changing for the better, and the deep state will fight back. They are cornered and they are very scared, and they will do anything to get out of this, which inevitably they won't. Also, my friends, we will be going over memes to catch us up with what's been going on in the news. But before we do so, will you please welcome my new sponsor, Virtual Shield VPN. Hi friends, do you like having the peace of mind knowing that your IP address is safeguarded from hackers and people trying to steal your information? I do too, and that's why I use Virtual Shield VPN. For the month of May, Virtual Shield is offering a 30-day free trial as a Memorial Day special. So go ahead and find out what the hype is all about by clicking on the link below. Thank you. Alright guys, let's go ahead and hop into it. This is True Reporting. So we can see here, deep state desperation, and FF is their last remaining option to save themselves from being exposed and destroyed. Natural News, just 4 days ago, President Trump ordered the declassification of Bucket 5 documents, which will show how Obama's FBI and DOJ actively conspired to commit treason against the Trump administration through illegal spying, FISA court fraud, planning spies, and more. This is the beginning of the end for the treasonous criminal deep state, under which America has suffered for too long, spanning multiple presidential administrations including Obama, Bush, and Clinton. Now, the deep state finds itself at maximum desperation and is going to trigger every last-ditch tactic it still has remaining in order to try and save itself. This means we are now facing the greatest threat of internal sabotage that America has ever faced in its history, and some of the acts in the deep state may be able and willing to carry out to cause maximum chaos, including an attempt assassination of President Trump, a nuclear dirty bomb detonation in a major United States city, the release of a chemical or biological weapon on U.S. soil, the detonation of an EMP weapon to bring down a regional power grid, cyber attacks on the U.S. power grid to cause mass chaos, invoking international war with Russia, Iran, or North Korea, i.e. literally starting World War III. So in this little bullet point right here, I don't believe North Korea is in that position. Russia also, I believe the only way that they would be able to start anything is with Iran, and Iran is nothing as to what they were. We will see, and I pray to God that that never happens. Continuing on, a massive FF shooting, bombings, or 9/11 scale attack on innocent Americans to cause violence and chaos that will be blamed on Trump. Also, as you know, I continue to believe the number one FF scenario being plotted by the deep state is a massive, coordinated FF shooting that targets the offices of a tech giant such as Facebook or Twitter. The purpose of this would be to blame a gun owner, conservatives, and Trump supporters while justifying the censorship of all conservatives. Importantly, such an event would be engineered by the corrupt FBI and deep state traitors meet the following conditions. Be caught on camera so that the footage can be played on national television and cable news. Involve an enormous amount of blood, gore, and suffering so that the emotional impact can be seared into the minds of the American public. Blame on a Trump supporter, an InfoWars viewer, a gun owner, NRA member, military veteran, etc. I don't know about InfoWars viewer, who has a van emblazoned with pro-Trump stickers. Oh wait, they've already done that. Remember Caesar Sayoic? And now we've never heard about Soik, do we? The entire thing was staged for CNN. Watch my video to stay informed. The biggest false flag risk in American history is now active. You've been warned, they say. So, guys, I agree. I think that something of this magnitude could happen. I believe that they could try and pull something to this magnitude, but I don't know it'll be World War III. I think that that is being decimated. It is being eradicated. That whole thought process, that whole plan of attack is being rendered, which is wonderful. But this is go time. This is their last leg. This is the last stretch. This is the Great Awakening, and the deep state will fight back as hard as they can because they are cornered and they are panicked. Moving forward, let's go ahead and hop into some memes, shall we? All right, guys, we know that Trump has just gotten back from Japan. He obviously they were being honored, him and the First Lady Melania Trump. And we see this picture taken from Dan Scanvino. And we can see here in the very back, which you will see a picture of, it looks like somebody's covering their face with their hand. I am not jumping to conclusions, but we all know of a person who we are waiting to see if they are still alive. This is closer up, the hand coming forward over the face as if they do not want to be photographed. I find this to be extremely interesting. Maybe Anons will dig further more into this, but we all know it could be Junior. Could it be? Hopefully so. This came out of a chain that I wanted to share with you. I found it to be very interesting. The forced resignation of British Prime Minister and Hitler's daughter, Theresa May, marked a decisive turning point in the battle for the planet Earth. Multiple sources agree. Already, her resignation has forced high-tech oligarchs Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk to seek peace negotiations with the White Dragon Society, the WDS, according to two P2 Freemason sources. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has spent the Memorial Day weekend in Japan, in part to avoid assassinations as moves begin to end the long political deadlock in Washington, D.C., the Pentagon and Japanese right-wing sources say. Also, as many of us are aware, U.S. politics has been stuck in an endlessly repeating loop for 2 years, with hysterical Democrats using control of corporate media and every legal tool possible to remove Trump, while Trump endlessly tweets witch hunt. Continuing forward, to understand why the resignation of May is crucial to breaking the political deadlock, we need to take a quick look at the FISA-Gate scandal. Basically, in 2016, the Rockefeller-Clinton oligarchs asked their Rothschild counterparts in the UK to circumvent U.S. law in order to spy on Trump and concoct the Russiagate scandal to impeach him. May's resignation means the British Nazis, the Zionists, allied oligarchs who fought against Trump are now all being purged from the British military intelligence political power structure, according to British royal family sources. The purge will be accompanied by a similar purge in the United States, according to Pentagon sources. Trump giving U.S. Attorney General William Barr power to declassify gives him clean hands to terminate Zionists when files are released about 9/11, 3/11, which is the Fukushima meltdown, and other military intelligence Pentagon sources promise. They promise this. A forestate of the sorts of files that are about to be released came with one leak from Holland of a video and photographs taken immediately after Malaysian Air Flight 370-17 was shot down over Ukraine. The film has been made available for download until June 1st, but be warned that it contains graphic stomach-churning images of mangled corpses, which I'm not going to post on this channel because it will get flagged and I can't handle that ever again. The whistleblower who sent the file noted that the victims of Flight 17 had invalid Dutch passports belonging to the people who boarded Flight 370. Also, many of the bodies were decomposed, wearing winter clothes for a summer flight or else naked, and had no blood. The information contained on the flight's black boxes has never been made public by the English who received them, the sources note. British MI6 sources say both the current and former prime ministers colluded to pervert the course of the emancipation of Great Britain, and as always, we found out, so they had to go. Now that they have been removed from power, the release of information from the Flight 370-17 black boxes is forthcoming, the sources add. Also, former U.S. President Barack Obama is testifying now about the use of Flight 370-17 for nuclear blackmail against world leaders, CIA sources note. There are many signs the Khazarian mafia is not taking these imminent disclosures well. For one thing, CNN headlines an article about Trump's visit to Japan with a photo of John F. Kennedy exiting a plane on the day of his assassination. And I know all you guys have seen that picture. I believe that is extremely coded, and they're trying to eliminate our president. We also were treated to the spectacle of Representative Jerry Nadler, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, which ran various congressional investigations against the president, passing out at a press conference. And I believe I showed you pictures, or a video actually, the intro video of my last podcast. That was not passing out. I believe he was having a stroke due to stress, maybe due to what's to come. We do not know, but I believe it was a stroke. Meanwhile, an obviously highly stressed House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called for an intervention against Trump. Absolutely. And an intervention, I believe I have a meme about this. I have looked it up. Intervention within CIA code work does mean assassination. So, moving forward, if the U.S. military police do not round up these criminals after such blatant threats against a sitting president, they're guilty of dereliction of duty. I totally agree. If these people do not get eliminated, jailed, whatever needs to be done, they're part of the problem. This has to be taken care of. In any case, the Zionist rogue state of Israel is also under siege. Mass murdering war criminal Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been unable to form a government after his recent attempt to steal the election there. Israel is surrounded by missiles, S-400s, tsunami nukes, and many have got to give up the Golan Heights. Pentagon sources note. Meanwhile, the boycott, divestment sanctions (BDS) campaign against Israel escalates, with Trump forcing Israel to abandon Chinese projects, while Siemens, Bombardier, Hitachi, Macquarie, Alstom, and Greek Castorium all withdrew from the Jerusalem Light Rail project. The sources note. The EU is also reviewing its ties with the Zionist Israel bank Leumi. They note, furthermore, Israeli crimes are stoking anti-Semitism to the extent that Germany is warning Jews not to wear their skull caps, the sources note. Continuing forward, it says, the true cost of war is being discussed among Pentagon insiders, perhaps including Army Chief of Staff Mark Milley. Already designated to become the next chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, comments Robert David Steele, former Marine and CIA officer. And again, my friends, I am not 100% on board with Robert David Steele. Once an agent, always an agent. But he does put out good information, also disinformation. So use discernment, correct? Just like the disclaimer says at the beginning of every video. Both the president and the best of the senior leaders understand that being the Zionist tool for the Middle East has cost the United States not just $7 trillion, but 75,000 amputees, 250,000 or more confirmed PTSD cases, tens of thousands of rapes, male as well as female, and a virtual $1 trillion crime wave as contractors have leveraged easy money to cheat the military and the taxpayers, he says. I agree. Internationally, the Zionist neocon attempt to force regime change on Venezuela and steal the country's oil has publicly been declared a failure. Also, attempts to start a war with Iran have failed, and instead of the U.S. government is now working on a comprehensive Middle East peace deal with Iran and Saudi Arabia, CIA sources note. In Indonesia, a Zionist attempt to overturn the re-election of President Joko Widodo resulted in 7 deaths, 250 injuries, and 400 arrests before fizzling out. In Europe, French Europe skeptic Marine Le Pen defeated Rothschild slave Emmanuel Macron in the EU parliamentary elections. Big win, my friends. We had big wins in Germany, in France. Well, not necessarily Germany. She's stepping down, so obviously she'll be replaced, hopefully by a patriot. Macron losing, and also Italian prime minister or Italian leader won an election. He is just like Trump, follows Trump. So again, the world is changing for the better, my friends. So we will see further the American and British leaders who will be in France to celebrate the 75th anniversary of D-Day on June 6th look as if they are set to once again liberate France from German conquerors. I agree. These events are all very promising and show that things are indeed coming to a head. But, and this is a big but, we need to see the people behind these international crime acts in handcuffs facing a public war crimes tribunal before we can actually believe real change is imminent. There are also signs that many oligarchs are far from defeated. Patrick Wood from Technocracy.news has uncovered a Rockefeller scheme to launder $6 trillion created by the fiat money stock market inflation onto 8,700 tax-free opportunity zones in the United States. He notes that this initiative was started by Sean Parker, who co-founded Facebook with Mark Zuckerberg, Wood does not appear to know that Zuckerberg is David Rockefeller's grandson. Wow. In any case, as mentioned earlier, last week Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Elon Musk of Tesla, and Zuckerberg all contacted the WDS via the P2 Freemason Lodge in Italy to propose a peace agreement, P2 sources say. The three agree that some sort of world federation needs to be set up and humanity needs to be allowed to expand out of the universe, the sources say. They also agree that whoever is blocking human progress needs to be dealt with. The P2 identify Israel's Netanyahu as one of the enemies who needs to be flushed out and dealt with. I agree. The others are diehard Zionist fanatics who still think that they are going to artificially create the biblical end times, they say. And if you have not looked into CERN and what goes on there and what they've been trying to do, you really need to. That is a rabbit hole well worth the read. So this all has a lot to do with the whoever is blocking progress needs to be dealt with, creating an artificial biblical end time. The other big issue that needs to be settled is the U.S.-China trade war. Yes. Pentagon sources think that Trump has wisely used the trade war to let China hammer U.S. companies like Apple, Google, Boeing, and Nike, forcing them to move back home to MAGA while creating an alternative global supply chain. Very well done. However, the Americans need to study their own recent history. Back in the late 1980s, they forced Japan to increase the value of their yen by over 100%, in affecting and creating massive tariffs in order to eliminate the U.S.-Japan trade deficit. The only result was that Japanese manufacturing moved to the rest of Asia, and the U.S. trade deficit kept rising. Because Japan is occupied by U.S. military, the Japanese were forced to keep buying U.S. government bonds and thus keep the U.S. afloat. This is not the case with China. Absolutely not. Also, even if manufacturing should move from China to places like Vietnam, Asia as a whole will maintain a huge surplus relative in the United States. The only way that for the U.S. to end this trade deficit, as we keep repeating, is for it to give up the so-called U.S. dollar and issue its own lower-priced sovereign currency. While Asia as a whole does not want to replace the U.S. imperialism with Chinese imperialism, they will not continue to buy U.S. treasuries to support constant U.S. warmongering. Absolutely. And Trump is not a warmonger. This has just been going on for so long that they need to let up off the gas and erase this problem that has been caused by former presidents who were obviously deep state to begin with. The Asian secret societies transcend China and promise to keep up the fight against the Zionists until their fanatical nightmare is permanently ended. Once this is done, the Asians and the rest of the world would be happy to support the U.S. military-industrial complex as it transforms itself from a Zionist imperialist tool into a benign planetary protection and space exploration force. Well, yeah, there is a definite U.S. military-industrial complex. Trump has talked about that live on television. He says that there is one. Do not kid yourself. And they do want war. But if you get those deep state pieces out of that military-industrial complex, it will transform itself from a Zionist imperialist tool to a benign planetary protection and space exploration force. I agree. That makes complete sense to me. D-Day Patriots. This is from a post from the Alliance 2629. You obviously know who I'm talking about when I say the Alliance. D-Day Patriots. We will have our country back. Alliance Plus. We all know who that is. D-Day. This is from Devin Nunes. This is from yesterday. Right on time, on June 6, 1994, Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy in northern France. Their goal to liberate Western Europe from the Nazi tyranny from a distance. D-Day, Paraguay. This is huge, huge news, guys, that Devin Nunes is retweeting this. The real trade war began 30 years ago, and we lost. This is a bright and new age. The age of enlightenment. We don't lose anymore. This is the Great Awakening. The world is changing. New age of enlightenment. This is from the 12th of November, 2017. How does POTUS shift narrative? New age of enlightenment. 80% covert, 20% public. I believe that went to 40-60, right? In the end remarks of those posts. So, huge. Again, new age of enlightenment. And we can see that people are going down. The deep state will be going down. Everything should be made public. Transparency is the only way. For God and country, for humanity, Geronimo. right? George Papadopoulos tweets, do not underestimate the massive win by Matteo Salvini. This is the Italian president who is directly linked up with Trump. He is pro patriot. He is pro Italy. He is not pro deep state. In Italy, a couple days ago, it was the first to flip, and they have already given up Mifsud. They will be the key to unraveling the plot. Congrats. This is from George Papadopoulos. This is huge, guys. This is from yesterday. Huge news. These countries are switching. The deep state is dying. You're physically seeing them die on television. Strokes. They don't look like they're coherent. They look like they're dying, and I posted an intro video of this. Hillary Clinton's coughing. They look like zombies. They're out. They're dying out. The light is winning. The darkness is losing. Any associated with the 1994 crime bill, we can see here, will not have a chance of being elected. In particular, African Americans will not be able to vote for you. I, on the other hand, was responsible for criminal justice reform, which had tremendous support and helped fix the bad 1994 bill. 8-minute delta between tweets. This is from May 27, 2019. And then March 23rd, 8:08, 2019, 8:08, 5:08, 8-minute delta, right? So we can see here, super predator was the term associated with the 1994 crime bill. That was Sleepy Joe Biden was also heavily involved in passing. That was a dark period in American history, but Sleepy Joe apologized? No. So what does this mean, my friends? This means that the African American populist is not going to vote for Bernie Sanders. He's a crazy white guy. I believe he had a chance the first run, but most of the people who would vote for Bernie would be college students, younger people. They like him, not as much so. He's out of it, not a chance. They don't want the other ones that are out there that are pretty much irrelevant at this point. Beto and the other guy, the homosexual gentleman. And again, I'm not homophobic, but, I'm just telling you, who and what these people are. So what is left is Joe Biden. The only reason that I could see a black populace voting for Joe Biden is because of Obama, the black population that is still left asleep. And I believe that that's their only go-to. But a super predator was the term associated with 1994 crime bill that Sleepy Joe Biden was so heavily involved in passing. Again, if the people that pass this, African Americans will not be able to vote for you, Sleepy Joe, right? That's huge, guys. They have no chance. They never had a chance against POTUS. None. And last but not least, the gold fringe is gone. Are we freed? God bless the United States of America. Are we freed? I saw another picture. I believe it was at the White House. There was no gold fringe. It's gone. So are we freed up? Are we actually going to see our independence take place from where we've been before? No more gold fringe, no more deep state. Maybe we are moving forward to sovereignty, finally. My friends, if you found this informative and you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Twitter @TrueReporting. Don't forget to leave a like. My friends, please donate to this channel if you are so financially able to by going to my PayPal or my Patreon in the description box below. Please be kind and loving to one another, and we will talk to you very soon. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.